This is Vision Cruise Booking Tool Training, Booking Part 2. This is Christina Lynch from Passport Online again. In this training, we'll be going over how to find previously made bookings, how to modify those bookings that you've already completed, how to import bookings from outside Vision Cruise Booking Tool. So if you've made a booking through the cruise line directly or using a different booking tool, some of those can actually be imported, and I'll show you how to do that. And lastly, we'll go over quote management. So I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here so we can dive right back in. So by now you should know how to search and how to actually book. So we're going to hop right into our Manage Bookings page here. You'll see you have a few quick ways you can hop directly into specific bookings. So if we wanted to look at recent bookings or saved bookings, you can do that using those drop downs. But I'm going to start here on the Manage Bookings tab first. So you'll see here on this Manage Bookings tab, you have a big search box on the left-hand side. This gives you the option to search, which is going to search for all bookings made through this tool, or import. That's where you're going to be able to see if you can import a booking from an outside booking tool. So I'm going to show you that really quick. So all you have to do to actually search outside tools is go ahead and click on Import, and then just select your cruise line and enter in some basic information about that booking. Now you'll notice that some of these cruise lines have asterisks showing after them. If it has those showing, what it means is in order for you to be able to import that booking into Vision Cruise Booking Tool, it has to have originally been made using an Amadeus powered tool. If you're not sure exactly if what you booked it on did use Amadeus or not, what I would recommend is just go ahead and try it, because worst case scenario, what it'll do is it will tell you that it's not available for import. So that's really quick and easy. And the reason you might want to do that is just to get all of your bookings in one place and make it a little bit easier to manage them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch back to just the typical search here. So you'll see you have some search parameters that you can put in if you wanted to narrow down your search. So if I knew my confirmation number, I could just enter that in. But if you leave it all blank, you can still do the search. And what it'll do is it'll show you the latest bookings first. So I went ahead and created a test booking that we're going to use today. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click into View It. Now, we talked a little bit about cloning before. What that would do is it would take us right back into the booking engine, into this same sailing, and allow us to book another cabin really quickly and easily. But for now, I'm going to show you what it looks like if we go to View the Booking. And it will depend on the sailing. So sometimes if the sailing gets really close to departure, the cruise lines will start locking down any kind of modifications. And also the other big caveat is Avalon is not something that can be modified. If you do need to make any modifications to an Avalon booking, you can actually go through Globus directly for those. So here's what the View Booking or Modification page looks like. So there's a few things I want to show you in addition to what you can modify. So anything that can be modified, you'll see a blue Modify button. You can click on that. That will allow you to modify that particular portion or that particular information for the specific booking that you've already completed. Before we get into that really quick though, I wanted to talk about the different links available up here. Specifically confirmations. So if you go into confirmations, it's going to show you a history of all confirmations that have already been sent. It'll give you the option to view it as well. So if you wanted to double check what it looked like when you sent it to your customer originally, you can do that. Then it also gives you the option to go ahead and send a new confirmation email. So there are two different versions. There's the customer version and the agent version. The agent version will have commission information on it, so it's really important if you're sending it to your customer, just make sure you're using the customer version instead of the agent version, just to make sure you're not giving them more information than you're wanting to. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our View Booking page again. So we just talked about confirmations. History will give you a history of the conversation with the cruise line. Export booking would be if you were wanting to export your booking information into client base. You'd have to prepare it first, so you can do that using this link here. And then cloned booking we'd already discussed. Over on the right-hand side here, you're going to see an orange box called Items Needing Your Attention. This is here to call out specific due dates for you, as well as if there's any alerts from the cruise lines, those would display here as well. One thing I wanted to mention about these is they are not tied to any actions you make here. So what that means is if you go ahead and actually make a payment, so let's say your customer was ready to go ahead and apply that deposit, if you do that, you're not going to see this change automatically based off of that. So if you do make that deposit payment and you see this showing over here, don't worry, it doesn't mean that the payment didn't go through. It just means you haven't resolved it, which has to be done manually. All you have to do is click on it and you'll see a resolve button, and that will be what removes it from this items needing your attention box. Okay, so let's actually make a quick modification to this cruise here. Oh, actually, one other thing I wanted to mention. So you'll notice when you're going through a cruise initially, you won't have the option to add insurance. Cruise line insurance can only be added after the booking has been completed, and you'll see an option to add it here. So you can go ahead and click on modify, and that will give us the options as far as what kind of cruise line insurance is available. For my modification that I wanted to show you, I'm just going to go ahead and change the cabin. So I'm going to say that, well, this is me actually. I'm going to say that I got a big raise and I was ready to actually change my cabin. I wanted to upgrade to an outside cabin. Right now it's an inside cabin. So I'm going to leave it at the same fare code. So you'll see it's going to show you what fare code was used originally. So I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. But you can change it if you want to. And then it's going to go ahead and pull live information again from the cruise line as far as what other options are available. So I'm going to go ahead and change mine. So here's what I had previously. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade that to an outside room here, an outside category. And then you'll notice as you're making changes, you'll have a box showing on the right-hand side that's going to be telling you what changes you're making as you're making them to kind of make sure you're staying updated with that. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just pick another cabin. Doesn't really matter. We'll just go ahead and pick one from here. So you can see so far we've changed the category, we've changed the cabin, and now that we have a cabin, just like when we were booking originally, it's going to tell us how long we have to complete that change before it releases that cabin back into the ship inventory. And if I wanted to at this point, I could go ahead and change my dining or seating and table size here. Okay, so really important when you're going through to make a modification, we're not done yet. So it's going to give you another kind of overview, and it's not going to send these changes to the cruise line until you actually click on finalize changes. The cool thing about this though is it does break down what the pricing difference is if there is one, and that makes it super easy to just tell your customer, okay, so this is going to be a $100 change in price, make sure it's good with them, and then you can go ahead and finalize changes, which I'll go ahead and do now. You also have the option to see the detailed price changes if you wanted to. In this instance though, I'm just going to go ahead and finalize these changes to make sure that this does go through to the cruise line. All right, so that was it. So we went ahead and got that completed. We can see here now, if I look down a little bit, we have our new cabin selected here along with the new category. And then, of course, I kind of skipped this over before. This is also where you can find the option to make payment or cancel your booking. So if you've completed your booking and your customer is ready to go ahead and make a deposit, you'll find that option here. Or if you need to, hopefully you won't have to, but if you do need to, you can also cancel from here as well. So lastly, I wanted to talk about quote management. So we talked about how to send a quote previously. You can do that just going through the booking process, and you'll see a quote option once you get to the step where you're selecting your different fare codes, or you can do it after you've selected your fare code and your specific category. You can send it at that point. To get to your quotes, you can actually get to it through that Manage Bookings tab again. So we'll hover over Manage Bookings and we'll go into Quote Management. This will give you a search, so if you have a whole bunch of quotes that you've sent through, you might find really useful, save some time to just go ahead and put in some of that quote information. That way you can pull up that specific quote that you're looking for. Or if you scroll down, you'll see all of the quotes you've sent. So right now, we've actually only sent 3 quotes through this account, and I wanted to use this top one as our example here. So once you send a quote, you can see the different information about that quote here. So it's going to tell us when it was departing, number of nights, how many passengers, the cruise line or supplier, who we sent it to, title of the quote, when it was created, and the status of it. So the status is something you can change, and that's part of what I'm going to show you here. So once you're ready to manage that quote further, you can click on the quote ID, which is going to show in this furthest left column here. So once you click on that, that's going to give you your quote history. So I can see from this that it was actually clicked on to book, and a booking was started by an agent. So that would have been me going through this account and actually clicking on book. I can also come over here to quote actions, and it gives me a few different options here. So book is going to take me right back into the booking tool, and I'll actually show you that super quick here, because it's going to bring you right into the step where you were able to send that quote. So it's going to save the fare code you selected before. It's going to save if you got to the point where you had already selected your category. So for this one, instead of sending the quote where I gave them different options, I sent them the quote just for this specific category. So again, saves you a ton of time. If you send your customer a quote and they're ready to go ahead and get it booked, you can actually hop right back into that booking through quote management. You can also resend your quote through here. So if you know, for example, maybe the pricing has changed, maybe there's a new promotional thing going on for that sailing, or maybe even the price increased and you want to resend that quote, you have that option here. If you click on that, what it'll do is it's going to show you the quote again, and then it's also going to show you the information that was originally entered. So this was originally sent to me from Cara, or from Zabine, sorry. And then it shows you the quote down below. So that way you can go ahead and verify everything looks correct. And it's going to be re-pulling the information from the cruise line at this point. So you'll know that when you're sending a quote, you're sending live pricing of the moment of when you're sending that quote. So if I wanted to go ahead and send that, I could just go ahead and hit email and get that sent off again. The last thing I wanted to show you is we had talked about how when we were looking at those quotes, there was that status column where it was showing that these were all open. If you were talking to your customer, maybe you ended up booking it through the cruise line directly, which I hope you don't do, or something along those lines, you can always mark it as completed. That way it just doesn't show open anymore. And you have a few different options as far as how you want to mark it complete. So sail complete, again, that would be if you booked it elsewhere, or at least didn't book it through the quote. So if you booked it through the quote, it'll actually show here that your booking was completed in this quote history here. But maybe you booked it some other way, and you can go ahead and make notes on that too. Or you can say sail lost. So maybe your customer called you and said, you know, I decided not to actually go on a cruise. You can go ahead and do that. Or if you wanted to just put in other. So it just makes it really easy to keep track of these quotes and kind of where they're at. See if you need to maybe resend it to your customer or just close it. So this was a nice short training. That's all that this one had. The next training in the line of videos is going to be email marketing. So hopefully you'll take some time and watch that one as well.